Hello, I'm Laurel Houston,
And I'm Briana Anderson.
and this is the Bougie Boardroom, where luxury meets leadership, mentoring for women ready for wealth embodiment, strategy, and soul with sparkle. And today's episode is Gene Keys. What are they really? So, this is probably a continuation, I guess I would call it, from last week. Is that how you would classify this?
Oh yeah, deep dive.
Um, because you can't, well, there are some people that teach gene keys without teaching human design, but you
Mhm.
can't really teach human design without understanding gene keys. So, Brianna, really briefly, quickly, succinctly, because that's your one of your gene key gifts. What are gene keys and why does it matter in business and life? Why do people actually care about what gene keys are?
That's such a deep, good question. So, to answer what are gene keys, the most simple, compact answer is it's technology for the DNA.
Hmm.
Plus, and I would even say it's living technology. So, it's the exploration of consciousness within the soul. And that matters because if you're here to do business or if you're here to build an empire, like you're here to live a life of ease and alignment, bottom line, you're going to want to know what that language is so that you can find the path of least resistance. So I'm curious, what do you think gene keys are and what are they really to you?
Oh, in their simplest, well, I'm going to get super, super simple so that if you pull your human design chart,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
they're the circles that have numbers inside them.
Yes. Thank you. Someone needed
No,
that.
you're good. So super, super basic. If you're looking at a chart, a human design chart, and there's all of the big shapes, and then there's little circles inside that have numbers in them. Those, when we're talking about gene keys, each one of those numbers is a gene key. There's 64 total. And to me, what they are is more of the bullseye. It's to help you set your intention and to tell you your area of focus. It's literally here's the things you're naturally good at. Here's the things that you're going to work on.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
for me, there's something that really help with direction.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that help me discover rather than develop who
Yes.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just to give credit where credit is due, I did not come up with Gene Keys. Brianna did not come up with Gene Keys. There is a book by Richard Rudd that you can research. It is like 1,000+ pages. It is not easy reading. It is not something you read cover to cover. It's more like a dictionary where
Yeah.
you think of a specific thing that you want to look up and then you look it up. So think of it more as like an encyclopedia or a dictionary, not a cover to cover read.
Mm-hmm. Like a tool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One
Yes.
of our favorite websites for Gene Keys is called 64 Doors. Unlock Your Design, 64 Doors.
Yes.
What other resources would you send them to, Brianna, other
Um,
than your literal academy that teaches this?
I really like unlockyourdesign.com because that allows people to. So you're going to go to unlockyourdesign.com, go to 64 doors. And the reason I love that website is because what we're not saying is that Gene Keys is also very complex. And the reason I like that website is because it's going to pull the parts and aspects that matter to each individual. So, like, some people are going to like to know the body part, right? Like, that was huge to know, like, this body part is associated with this genetic, or this DNA is connected to this expression of astrology. So, what you're actually studying is like a large field of consciousness, but that particular website is my favorite because it adds all of the pieces that feel missing. Like it's like you said, it's like doing a puzzle but not having all the pieces.
Mm.
And Gene Keys is like the hub that says this is who you are. And by the way, it's not a box. Let's expand here and there. There's really cool resources. There is a website, and to be honest, it's not at the top of my memory, so I'll have to put it in the description. But I'm curious, alongside with the tools, what this has done for your business. Can we talk about business
Mm.
for a minute?
Hmm.
Yeah. So we'll let you start if that's okay. But what has Gene Keys done for your business when it comes to, okay, I just learned this. I went to this website.
Hmm.
Like, how did that unfold for you naturally?
So two things come to mind. So first, validation,
Mm, hmm.
instant validation, because there were certain things that I was naturally doing in my business,
Oh, yeah.
ways, things that I wanted to offer, language that I was using, and other people were telling me that those are the things that make me unique, but I was like, oh, other people don't do that.
Yes.
And so it was instant validation, not just for me, but for like my husband, because looking
Uh-huh.
through Gene Keys, he's like, Laurel, if people don't have this, like they haven't mastered it the way you have. And so it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I will give people more grace.
Yes.
The
Yes.
other thing that it did in business is it gave me more direction.
Yes. Say more
So
about that.
it wasn't just validation, but it was direction because it was like, okay, um, you know how everyone is like niche down, and for some
Yeah.
people, they can niche down and it's super, super simple. And then
Yes.
you have people like you or me, and it's like, well, I could teach about this, or I could teach about this, or I could teach about this, or I could teach about this.
Oh, yeah.
Just give me a microphone and I can teach you something and I can change your life. It doesn't really matter. As apparent by our podcast, because we're already
Yeah.
on like our sixth topic, and yet we're deep diving. And so for us to niche down,
Doesn't always fit.
it doesn't always fit. And so the reason it gave me direction in my business is because I stopped looking outside myself for
Yeah.
where to niche. And it
Mm-hmm.
literally gave me words to
Yes.
focus on. Like, and it
Uh-huh.
wasn't even, oh, I have to look inside myself to find these words. It's like, no, if you have this gene key, these
Mm.
are areas that you're naturally focused on. And it was like, oh, yes, that's true.
The themes of your life.
So the themes, thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. And so that for me is probably like in business. And it
Hmm.
was things that people had, back to the validation part, things that people say, oh, your business has taught me this or this or this. I'm like, fascinating. And then I go into Gene Keys and they're all in my unconscious. I wasn't even aware that that's what people were searching me out for.
Absolutely.
And you and I have had so many conversations about this where we get the pleasure of reflecting to one another. You don't see that in yourself. That's like all I see in you.
That's true. Uh-huh. It is.
And we're so, as you call it, we're the fish in water. We're so used to that characteristics, to that quality, to that theme
Mm,
that it almost that we take it for granted
yeah,
that
I would
not
agree.
everyone has access to it.
Hmm.
So, business wise, it gave me direction, it gave me focus, validation a lot, but personally, it also really allowed me to claim
Yes.
certain pieces of myself that it's like, no, this is literally, and not that you don't have choice, but it's like if you choose this particular direction, you will naturally be successful at it.
Naturally. I love that word. Hmm.
hmm And so, as a tool, at our live event, which I'm going to pause for just a second, in June of 2026, depending on when you're listening to this, we're hosting our next live event. And that I think was one of the most amazing things because in January when we did it, and we talked to the women about their money triangle,
Yes.
the ahas that those women had and the way that they were, it was, this is your vocation, this is your culture, this is your pearl, this is your life's work. To be able to look at those four gene keys and all of their individual words.
Absolutely.
I
Yes.
feel like one, they got out of comparison because out of the 15 women that we were looking at their charts, none of them had the same gene keys
None.
in those four areas.
Mm-mm.
And even if they had them, it wasn't in the same place.
Mm-mm. Yeah. No, not at all.
So it took these women out of comparison and immediately showed them collaboration.
Yes, this is what I'm good at. Hmm.
And it also showed them, hey, this is where you naturally land.
Hmm.
Why do you keep trying to leave it?
Yes. Yes. Well, because they don't know, right? Like you're saying. Yeah. That's
And
really.
and so to me, Gene Keys at our last live event was
Mhm.
probably one of the most significant things that I saw the women have instant and massive change.
And transformative, right?
Mhm.
I'm like,
Did you notice that when we were talking about the Gene
oh
Keys?
yeah. Oh yeah. In fact, I think a lot of people, back to our Legacy and Lace event, and I would dare say in the world, it's like
Mhm.
once you understand the language, at first you're listening to this podcast and you're going, huh? Unconscious, conscious. Like there's these terms that get used, but it's just the body's way of expressing without words or effort or action. And hear me clearly, this is the biggest change in business. It's not requiring effort as much as it's requiring presence. And I think those women, for the first time, recognized my presence has value. And because I value this gene key or this genetic gift that comes naturally, I can now charge higher value. So it's like whether you're in business or not, I think we're all asking the question at a deeper layer, like, where do I have value? And if it's not in my to-do list and serving everyone, especially as a woman in today's age and on the hustle train, if I'm not on that bus, what bus am I on? And I think what you and I are doing is, correct me if I'm wrong, but whether it's Legacy and Lace or the Bougie Boardroom podcast, we're just here to help people see like you can actually get under the hood and see your value. And we're going to help you and reflect to you the value you hold naturally just by some pieces of language that validate that it might be natural to you, but until you value that naturalness, then the world won't see it either. And I think that's the part people skip is they want everyone to see their value before they see it themselves. And I saw the light bulb turn on, like you're saying.
Well, that so in we have the Bougie Boardroom Mastermind,
Mm-hmm.
and the way different when the women come together, this is actually why I feel like masterminds are so important. And it is because of the gene keys. Not
Yeah.
even knowing what people's gene keys are, the way that they give support, the way that they give examples, the way that they give suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
Once you know their gene keys, you can't not see them in people.
That's so true. Yeah.
And so there are certain people that when I read their charts or I get to know their human design, I'm like, I want you part of my inner circle because I understand that you bring something that's not natural for me. Like you are the missing piece to this.
Mm-hmm.
So gene keys are also another way for us to, and I'm going to be honest, this is a way for people to go into collaboration or comparison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because to me, it's the same coin. It's just one side or the other. In one side, you look and you go, I don't have that, but I
Yeah.
want it. I see value in it. Oh, she has that. So I'm going to do it. Or you
Mm-hmm.
can look at it and be like, well, I don't have that, but she does. So I'm going to stay far away from her. Or I'm like, it's the
Yeah.
same. You can go into collaboration or you can go into comparison.
Yeah.
And you and I have chosen to use our gene keys and our gifts and our talents and our abilities to go into collaboration. And we've
Mm.
said this before and we will continue to say it. This is the easiest collaboration I've ever done. And I've
Ever.
been in business for over 20 years.
And I've worked in corporations where it's like, do I have to love them? I want to. Right. But we're all lying if we said we haven't been up with a partnership that doesn't feel truth. And I
Mhm.
think that's really important too, because how many years can we collapse for people, right? Like with time and with all the things we have. How many years do you think we can help people collapse once they know who they really are? Like you just said something so profound. Like you've had to, we don't need to talk about the struggle bus, but let's be honest, you've been in business for how long again?
So, my very first business I opened when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
The next business I opened at 30.
Mm-hmm.
So, and my third business I opened at 36.
So in those years of business, like you've obviously worked with a lot of people, and I think you said
Thousands.
it's worth, yeah, it's just worth exposing. Like
Mhm.
what made those partnerships, I guess, difficult, if I might ask. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So the first one, it really was very much an industry of cutthroat, like survival of the fittest. People confuse proximity with community.
Mm. Oh, I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. And so that was really hard because proximity did not equal community. Just because I see you regular and ongoing and you're close in my physical space doesn't
Yes.
actually mean that I can trust you or that you're in my inner circle. And so having to go through all of those, we will call them wounds,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
versus the businesses after that, some of the biggest things was having been in an industry where it was so cutthroat, it was me versus you. I vowed to never be in an industry like that again. I was
Mm.
like, we will work together or I will work alone, but that
Yep.
I'm not going to work against you.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
And so some of the anything from systems and mindset all the way to what specific gifts and talents do you bring. So with specific to gene keys, I think the other thing that a lot of, because you and I have studied, you've studied it even longer than I have, but we've studied this a lot.
Mhm.
And when you, just so that people know if they're new to Gene Keys, when you look up your Gene Keys, if you go to genekeys.com and you go to Richard Rudd's website, you buy the book, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're always given three words. So you
Mhm.
look up the number and it gives you three words.
Mhm.
And most people teach it like it's a ladder you have to climb.
Mhm. Mhm.
You have to let go of your shadow so you can have access to your gifts, so you can transcend into the city. Those are the three levels. But you and I have talked about this a lot. All of them have a wound,
Mhm.
and all of them have a very healed place.
Mhm. Yes.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, so another thing too is like when you look at I like that you brought that up because I almost forgot. When you look at that, and like the reason it's so important, people understand that it's about gene keys is because the consciousness can't be divided. And I love that you're saying don't compete with people. And in the same regard to what you just said with the three words, there's like this competition or competing happening inside of the gene key. It's like I don't like the shadow of reaction. Like that's my biggest shadow in my chart is how much I emotionally react. And I'm like, well, actually, cool, dude. I love that because it teaches me when I need to respond, when other people aren't willing to. Um, it just felt so important for me to mention that to you as you were talking because it's true.
Well, and so I printed off just some random, like I just randomly put numbers in. So, one of them is the gene key of, well, I love this one. So it's gene key 29. So if you look up your chart and you have gene key 29. So this gene key has three words and it has half-heartedness, commitment, and devotion.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the cool thing. Brianna has this gene key
Mm-hmm.
where I crave. There's part of my system. I don't have this gene key. I have the other side of it. I have 46. So
Mm-hmm.
when Brianna and I work together, our gene keys create a bridge together.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
she brings the devotion and I bring the ecstasy.
Mm-hmm. True.
And here is what I have noticed. And here's the part that we talk about, but not everyone else does. When
Mm-hmm.
you can acknowledge that if your words are half-heartedness, commitment, and devotion, if you see half-heartedness and you only see it as a shadow, something to overcome, something that says, "Oh, I have to fix this," instead of saying, "Where does half-heartedness help me?"
Mm-hmm. Serve me. Mm-hmm.
So, can you give an example of that, Brianna? Because we had a whole huge conversation about this. Because
I
I
know.
also am married to someone with 29.
Yeah, it's like there's so many examples that come up. So with that, I learned to love half-heartedness. So I want to say this to every listener who's new to this because I wish that someone would have showed me the trap. So I have to address this first, but you have to stop identifying with your shadow and realize that the only way that you recognize it isn't just because it's within you, but because it's within you, you're hyper aware of where other people are this. So I want to say that a different way. I thought for the longest time that I was so half hearted. And the biggest, most obvious experience to be real and raw on this podcast, because that's who we are, is looking at my last two marriages that would have been failed by the world's perception, but I wasn't the one that was half hearted. I was knees deep. That's why it hurt so bad. And that taught me, because I learned Gene Keys after the fact, I went back and just reviewed my life and went, wow, this whole time I thought I was half hearted because I have access to the genetic gift. But now that I know that it's my gift, I can go, wow, I married two very half hearted men. How do I know that? Because we're not together for very obvious reasons. Their heart wasn't in it. And
Mhm.
so that's just the most basic. But when we look at business, I'm like, wow, half-heartedness does serve me because I get opportunities often and I go, is this worth devoting to? So when I'm half-hearted, that's me feeling into it because I'm not sure. And then after so long, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm really sure that's not for me. And so half-heartedness has become in this the healed version of me has become a censor for what is worth my devotion versus and you've watched me do this whole
Mhm.
last year. I've said no to more than I think I've ever said no in the last, I don't know. I said more no's last year than I have in my whole life, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, in a
Because I
very healed way.
Yes, because I'm like, wow, I'm feeling into this. And I know that if I say yes to all these things, I'm not actually devoted to the one thing I want to do, which is write every single day. And so it makes business so clear and clean because it's like, this is a soul's yes or a soul's no. And now I use that gift in my business. And I'm like, dude, it's either an F yes or an F no. But I can teach that because
Mhm.
I'm aware of what half hearted looks like and how many people want it to be a yes, but really and
Mhm.
clearly it's a no.
Hmm.
So and I mean, I've watched this with you. I've watched this with my partnerships. Like you see someone that has a gift and you're like, wow, like let's talk about your Gene Key 12, shall we? Because it's in the same placement. Gene Key 12, the three words, do you know what they are?
Yes. So vanity, discrimination, purity.
Yes. Okay, that's your emotional body in your Gene Keys. That's the EQ.
Hmm.
So, for those that don't know the words we're using, when you go to genekeys.com, he gives you the first four paragraphs. So, automatically by listening to this podcast, you already know where you can start. But then he has all these bubbles, and we're not going to tell you what they all mean, but just know that it is the most healing heart experience that you'll ever have. So, tell us about your 12.
So I actually had to get really okay with the word vanity because vanity, I automatically thought about looks, but Gene
Yeah.
Key 12 is a gift of words.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, where in my words do I show up trying to show off?
I've never asked that. Okay.
And so, because vanity, it's like, okay, when it's self-obsession. And so it was like, oh, this is so interesting because my shadow was actually my refusal to say good things about myself. My
Mm-hmm.
shadow was my absolute refusal to see the good and to talk about myself in a positive, good way. Once I actually healed the word vanity, it wasn't hard for me to say good things about myself. And so,
That's so helpful.
well, and it's also interesting because without knowing this, years before I knew this, oh gosh, I was in my mid 20s
Mm-hmm.
and I was doing um, high school leadership events. Like for FFA, I was doing corporate events and I actually did a entire presentation
Mm-hmm.
about vanity. But
Yeah.
I didn't use the word vanity, but I talked about comparison and how you can say I am beautiful, but it's when you go into comparison and you start saying I am the prettiest, I am prettier,
Mm,
that all of the sudden comparison is what vanity is.
I can see that.
And no one had ever heard vanity described as comparison.
I haven't even because you live it. That's why I love your language. You live it. And I don't have this gene case. So,
Mhm. And so what's interesting is that because I have the gift of vanity, I can tell when I'm going into comparison versus when other people, it's like you just said, I don't compare myself to others very often, but
Mhm.
others often compare themselves to me. You
Oh,
don't show up in half-heartedness very often, but you
yeah.
can recognize when people are showing up half-hearted to you.
Oh, sure.
And so with the word vanity, the other words are discrimination and purity. And so I can tell when people are BSing me. You cannot BS me.
Can't
I
bullshit
don't get
bullshit.
manipulated easily because I'm like, oh, fascinating. I can tell that there is not purity in your words. There is
Mm-hmm.
not truth in your words.
Mm.
And when I don't speak truth, it comes it like I don't even know how to explain it, but it's
It's been
just
great.
yeah, it's just you can tell. And so it is interesting because with vanity, I really had to be okay with others comparing themselves to me. And then the other part of that is having kind words that I say about myself, not in comparison.
Mm-hmm. I really love everything you're saying. Go ahead.
Oh, I would say I just so here, like if someone's like, oh, I can tell that's something I do, I'll tell you what I did. I stopped saying or ist.
Prettiest, prettier. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Not smart. I'm not smarter. I'm smart.
smart. Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
not happier. I'm happy. And because I took that or that ist, there was no longer comparison and there was no longer vanity. It was truth,
Mm,
not comparison.
I love that.
Because a lot of, and here I got to go look at this too. Some people associate vanity with just talking about, oh, the pretty, the smart. No, no, no. You're still in comparison when you call yourself stupid. I'm dumber than she is. I'm uglier than they are. I'm fatter than they are. That's still vanity. That's still comparison. Just because you're tearing yourself apart doesn't mean it's not still vanity.
Yeah, I can see
And
that.
so, yeah, it was. Now I forgot the original question that you asked me. So I hope our listeners got value out of that.
No, they
But
did. I just wanted to
that,
know about Pinky 12 and what
oh,
it's
that's
been like in
right.
your world. Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it was a big, And Brianna has seen enough. Like, I get people compare themselves to me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Me just existing, people go into comparison.
Mm-hmm.
And because I have healed vanity, I can see that they're in comparison, but I don't need to compare. I
Mm-hmm.
can discern and I can, with pure love, communicate.
Do you know what is so cool? Can I go back to and take what you're saying and just really stamp legacy and lace for a minute with our event
Mhm.
coming up in June? Because as we're talking, like we've had this beautiful vision of what is possible for women when they gather. But I wanna like really expose and just put a spotlight on the fact that everything that you have had to heal through is literally what you're wanting other women to really understand because of your genetic gift, because of your filter and your lens, and how much of that will destroy someone internally if they don't clean it up. And
Mhm.
so if we haven't said it clearly, Gene Keys, and I think you would agree, is literally the internal map. It's like the algorithm internally. And it's like, I feel blocked here. And it's like, until you heal it, it might feel like a block, but it's your greatest asset. Like to the point where it's placed in your chart, it's your entire emotional body. And
Mhm.
so what that means for the world is you teach other people like you are going to have really healed emotions when you stop doing X, Y, and Z. And I know, and what makes you the expert is that you live it, right? Like, don't you love that part where Gene Keys makes you an expert, not because you read more books, not because you worked harder than her, not because you're more prettier, right? Like all the judgments, and how much of Gene Keys actually says, wait a minute, dude, if you can just own, I think that's your gift as well as helping people claim. And then mine is like, okay, now that you've claimed it, let's actually live it. Let's not just claim it. Let's freaking live it, right?
Mhm.
So if you're okay, I want to go into this next territory, which is, and it organically feels necessary. The number one question I get asked is, how do I live this practically? So I've
Mhm.
studied it, I've read it, I know the words now. This is consciousness, it's my gift. Now, what do I do about it? And I'm curious what question you get asked when you're teaching clients, people, your family, even your kids know this. Like every person in your life has had a ripple effect of this at some point. Like,
Mhm.
what's the question you get asked the most?
It's probably the same thing. My light has changed. It's very much, what do I do with this?
Yeah, should we answer
And and
that?
and part of it is I just want to point something out. It's not about doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the embodiment piece.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is where Gene Keys is helpful if you are looking for something to help you focus and have intention.
Yes,
Gene
absolutely.
Keys is not helpful if you are looking for a really quick, easy, give me a word and I'm going to claim it, but I'm not going to maintain it. I'm not actually going to embody it. Because here's the other side of Gene Keys. Some people will hear their words and they'll be like, yes, I love those words. Oh, yes, I'm so happy. I claim that. And I'm like, cool, now embody it.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is, so I have this gene key, but I know several people with it too. And one of the gene keys is the gene key of integrity,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
its shadow is judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is a place that it's like, cool, you claim that you are someone who has great integrity, but I look at your life and you are so far out of integrity. Your words and your actions don't match. That is not in integrity. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is where these words are here to give you
Mm-hmm.
direction so that
Mm-hmm.
you can pick, what do I want to work on? I want to work on showing up every single day in integrity. Do my actions and my words match? I'm
Yes.
gonna, and Brianna, I see this with you. I'm gonna go back to devotion for a second because once you got out of half-heartedness, and that's actually kind of been kind of your precursor, is you're like, can I devote myself to this? If I commit to this,
I'm in. I'm
and
at in.
yeah. And so it's like, okay, cool. Because now things that were draining you and sucking you dry, it was like, I don't have to give anything to that anymore. So when people talk about embodiment, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a phrase that people kind of threw around for a minute, but embodiment is the thing that it is. When your thought, it's alignment. I'm going to use that word instead.
Yeah.
Embodiment is alignment.
Yeah.
When the
Right.
mind, the soul, and the body all work together and they're not doing this, they're like, yes,
This is it. Mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
we are connected. We all know we're not constantly fighting to
Mm-hmm.
see who's in charge. It really is. These words are very internal because they're meant to be internalized.
Yes. Yes. Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so this isn't a, I heard the word, I'm now going to say that I am that word.
Hmm.
It's a, oh, I'm going to focus on showing up and having my actions. It's the implementation piece of it that most people miss in Gene Keys.
Hmm. Hmm.
They read the word and they're like, "Oh, aspiration. I love that word. Yes, I aspire to higher things." And it's like, "Cool, because nothing about your life has changed in the last 4 years except for things that you were forced to change. So, are you embodying this?"
Yeah, absolutely.
Complexity and simplicity is one of yours.
Yeah.
How
Hmm.
can you give an example of how your life changed when you actually embodied simplicity?
Um, I have a three-step process I'm just going to tell the audience because it's like it really does help the mind to know like, and you've given perfect examples. So like number one, it's I have to have awareness that that's my gift. So it was like, okay, awareness. What does that mean? So Richard Rudd says contemplation is the way to unlock the door.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally a key. So don't overthink the word gene keys. It's like keys
Mm-hmm.
to your DNA. But in order to turn the key internally, to have
Mm-hmm.
that internalization after awareness, the second step is always contemplation.
Mm-hmm.
So, contemplation is when you allow the thought to sit long enough with your mind that you're in a curious state. So, it's not that I know, it's that I'm curious. And so, I ask Spirit, I ask God, choose your relationship to who you think owns, your divinity. But I asked the question and it was really simple like why does simplicity matter? God show and this is it. It's like show me because I don't value simplicity. I'm living in complexity and I'm aware I'm in my shadow. My whole life is complex and I was fighting for my limitations. And so if you're in your shadow in any of them, you're just fighting for what's familiar. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, when you contemplate, it's kind of like Pandora's box. I just feel like spirit's like, and it's right here, and it's right here. So then after I contemplate, I'm like, cool. So if I have experienced complexity, what happens when someone takes that away from me, my gift of simplicity? So it's like reverse psychology. When someone takes something from you, suddenly you're like, ah, no, I want that back. Now I'll value it. And so I went,
So
well,
true.
if someone took away simplicity from me, how would I feel? And I was like, oh, that actually made my nervous system more chaotic than my shadow. And so I'm saying that to you guys going, okay, so number one, have awareness of what your gene keys are and what those words might be. Step two, have some contemplation, allow the word to be in your mind and be curious and say, God, I don't resonate with this word, but show me what the essence of it is. And
Mm-hmm.
then the third step, when you say embodiment, I think it's really just the value to have value over it every single day. Like, how can I make people's lives more simple? How can I make people's lives more simple? And not only that, but if I'm in complexity, I tend to just get right back to, like you said, physicality. The way I dress is simple. I'm usually in one solid color every day. So I think that we naturally live it. But to answer your question, I think that we have to value it. And the only way to value it is to see what would happen if you didn't have it.
I love that.
Yeah. So,
I I love that because as I think over some of my gene keys, even the shadow aspect to them, I'm like, I would rather have that shadow in my life. Like those are the things. And so, um, how do I want to ask this question? Okay, so if people are hearing this and
Mhm,
they're like, okay, I still don't really fully understand why I would need to learn about gene keys. How
mhm.
would you answer them? Like the people that are like, I still don't get it.
Oh, so then it just needs to be grounded even more. So, gene keys are your gifts. I think the words that we can relate to the most are gifts. And when people say, well, I don't understand, how do I use my gifts? You'll hear me say it over and over again. Who you be is so important, and who you be has as much value, if not more, than what you do. And I think the fastest way to get that concept, especially when you're brand new, is to
Mhm.
pull your chart and one other person's because, like, just comparing apples to apples, you can go, I have this number and you don't. That tells you right there that you have a gift that someone in your life doesn't. And I think sometimes the human brain wants to see compared apples to apples. Like you and I, especially, we have our main four, like our prime genius. We don't have not one number the same.
Mhm.
And we might talk about this in the bonus content later, but then you got gene keys that are flavored and they have different ways of expressing themselves based on the hexagram. And so to make it really simple, I would tell a user to pull up Human Design and Gene Keys, download the Human Design app, look at those blue dots that are on the body graph, and just look at how many of those blue dots that you have. How many you have is not as important as, wow, there's other people in the world that don't have that.
Mhm.
And I'm saying, yeah, they don't have it. Like your whole life, Laurel, has been an expression of 4 main gene keys that I've not had access to in my chart at all.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important just to compare in a healthy way so that you can get on board to, oh, this is what I bring to the table. I think we're all asking, what are my gifts and how can I serve the world better? You have to know yourself. It's literally like written in the stars. But I'm curious, what would you tell someone who's like, what's my next step? Or what do you think the listener needs to hear? We'll use your gift of intuition.
So I was actually thinking of my husband as an example of this because so many women in personal development have a
Mhm.
partner that they're like, that's nice. And it's not they could even be into personal development, but they have a different set of passions. And so my husband, in his effort to be very supportive of some of my, we're going to call them passions slash obsessions, has had to learn the language of human design and gene keys. But here's the
Yes.
really beautiful part.
Mm.
He recently he's this is his birthday is coming up, and I'm gonna spotlight Brianna for just a second. She wrote a poem for him, and she went through his chart and his gene keys and created a poem that used very specific words related to his chart.
Yeah.
And the comment he made after was, she used words that I talk to myself with
Mm.
those words, but I've never said them to other people out loud.
That makes me
And
happy.
so it was just this moment of feeling so seen, so heard, and so understood in a
Mhm.
way that he was like, part of me knew this, but I didn't know I knew it. But I
Oh,
really like knowing that other people see it.
yes. Hmm.
And so um, it was very intimate for him
Hmm.
to have someone say the words that meant something to him.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so when people are looking at gene keys and they're looking at this, it's important to know that this isn't fortune telling. This
No.
is not destiny. This is not taking away agency. This is not removing or replacing any type of thought or belief system. It is
No.
a way for you to know yourself
Hmm.
deeper and with more love.
Hmm. And you just nailed the last part, which I think is deserving of attention. How many of our relationships, and let's be honest, relationships are their own hub, but we like to like compartmentalize, like that's business, this is romance. No, 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 no. Like when you know who you are, you don't change. And so then you start to build a lifestyle and a legacy and a life that is around you versus you trying to hop into all of these different arenas and be what's expected of you. And so I would dare say, with you being an expert at the nervous system and with my love for consciousness, like this is the way to create a life where you are the center of it all.
Mhm.
So, with that, we are going to invite you to Legacy and Lace. We are having our next event in June, the 11th, 12th, and 13th. You're going to want to get your tickets ahead of time. And then we're going to catch you in the bonus section. So make sure that you subscribe to that. And we're going to talk deeper on gene keys and why it really matters in some other areas. So, with that, we love you and we're so thankful for you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.